Well, we have about 13 months and about a week left in this crazy idea to retire my parents from our business before the end of 2026. And this week has been really fun to be working through additional systemization, refining some of the team scope and training, and just making sure that these things continue to be in place, along with really mapping out what are some of the additional roles and things like that that we are going to need within the business. So, kind of some of the quick updates as we go through this process this last week. It's been really fun as we've had William come onto the team from the sales or kind of specialist, business support specialist type of a role, and it's been really fun to see how that role has developed with the training, with the effectiveness of who we chose to hire, how we brought them onto the team. You can kind of see this process of everything kind of coming together. So it's really exciting to see from training to first couple steps to initial calls by themselves and in continuing on this process. It's a great learning for us as a business to continue to look at what are the things that need to happen in order for this to be a reality. How do we replicate the things that are working so we can do it again in the future? And how do we take those learnings and implement it into additional roles that we'll eventually need to bring onto the team? So documenting all of this has been really important as we go through it. The additional things that have been kind of the focus for this week has been on some automation, some systemization of things, and using AI to continue to augment this entire process. So I did record a few things throughout the week that I'm going to share with you as we go through this particular video. So we'll see those in just a moment on just these topics specifically. So the first one I want to share is on the difference between automation and systemization. And I think there's a big difference there. So here's a little bit on that topic here. All right, so this is going to be a little bit of a hot take, or I think it's going to be a bit of a hot take. But here's the deal: automation and systemization are not the same thing. And before you go, yeah, but really they are, here's the thing that I'm thinking of. So when we automate something, we can automate as many things as we can. I'm thinking like large scale things is where this really starts to make sense. If you're just one individual business and you're building some automated workflows and things like that, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like automate all day long. But let's not confuse it with what systemization really is. So systemization, I love the acronym, saving yourself time, energy, and money. So if we look at this on a broad scale, this is what really kind of highlighted this as I was thinking about it today. If we're looking at a broad scale, let's say we have 10 different locations in our business, and each of our locations has a process for marketing, right? Maybe it's a specific lead channel, maybe let's call it networking as an example. So let's say it's networking and there's this whole process that it goes through. We've got our CRM, we've got these different types of things. Well, if every single one of those locations, all 10 locations, has a different CRM with different pipelines, with different types of networking, they define leads differently. Maybe marketing qualified lead means something different in site B than it does in site A. Okay. So in that scenario, you could easily automate and make it easy for each individual business to operate, right? You could automate step 1 to step 2 and step 2 to step 3 and so far down the process. And you could have a decent flowing way to do everything. But the problem is it's not systemized, because systems really are a synergy. It's a working together. It's a sameness between all 10 locations. So a true system is something that can be duplicated. So if it works in one location, you can replicate it over multiple, which is really good if you're the one that's running the entire area, or you're the CEO or the owner of the business or the company or whatever it is. Being able to get a same type of data from every single location saying that this is how many leads are in this pipeline stage, or this is how many leads are in this particular thing. If all of a sudden we have different naming conventions, like pipeline A says new lead received, but pipeline B in site B is maybe it's just new lead. I don't know, maybe that's a little bit too close of a thing. But the point being, the data coming back is going to be different. So now there's an extra layer, an extra step that has to be on to clean up and normalize that data. So there's no systemization because now all of a sudden you're looking at things that aren't the same. It's not duplicatable because it's different in each location. So yes, you can automate, you can do all of that kind of stuff. It makes life easier. But if you want a true system, something that can grow and it can scale and it can work effectively, and you can start to look at larger data sets, then systems have to be same. Saves yourself time, energy, money because it can duplicate across. So I know this is a little bit more of a rant, but I thought it was really important as I'm thinking through all this stuff as we're building our business, kind of looking at what are the ways that we can leverage things in our business. Now you can look at it from defining things the same in each lead channel on more of a smaller level. But there has to be that systemization. There has to be, if I'm going to go and open up 10 more locations, I'm taking what's already been done here and I'm duplicating it. I'm not customizing. So the other piece I want to talk about is customization, right? So when you have true systems and you're looking at true scale and you have sameness, then you have these economies of scale. So if I find one thing that works really well and it's a system that works and I want to duplicate it 10 times or 100 times, I get economies of scale because now all of a sudden I can do bulk orders of things. I can use the same system multiple different ways. So all of a sudden I have this ability to drive down the overall cost relative to the outsized impact of that system. Now, you see this all the time. You see this when a company scales a software, you can even take something like McDonald's, right? If every franchise, every McDonald's had different food, it's not a true scalable system. There's no economies of scale. They can't bulk order those chicken nuggets if every single location has a different type of chicken nugget that they're going to offer. So when we think about this, we got to think about, why does custom cost more? And this is the key. The moment you start making differences and you start wanting to customize some things, even if it's just like small micro changes, you start to customize things. Now, all of a sudden that requires a different set of rules, a different set of normalization if you're going to try and pull it back into normalized data. There is no more economy of scale. Because of that, you can't drive costs down as much. And all of a sudden the price has to be higher as a result of it. It's an interesting dynamic, but there is a reason why custom costs more. And if you want a true system that scales, you got to build a system that's the same across all. The final piece of this is when you have customized systems. So let's go back to our example of there's 10 different locations for your business. And each location is a general manager that says, well, my location's a little bit different, so it needs to look just a little bit different here. I need to change this over here. I need to change this over here. All of a sudden you start doing that. And what it does is it fractures the data set. So now, rather than looking back and saying, okay, how do I make the best possible large, long-term, big solutions for the organization that I can deploy to everyone so everybody has the ability to succeed from this, I now, at the centralized location, have to look at it and go, well, this is a different data set than this. So now I have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or maybe even 10 different micro data sets that I have to look at, and either find a way to normalize that data and bring it into one big data set, which creates more time, energy, and effort, or I have to come up with custom solutions for each and every one. There's no blanket thing that I can then deploy across everybody. And then you run into this whole situation where these individual locations are like, well, you don't support me. This person over here, or this location over here had a better result than this one over here. Well, how come we didn't get that? Because it requires so much more customization as a result of it. So sameness, scale, synergy, all of this really matters when it comes to how do we systemize a business effectively. It's all about the ability to duplicate. Additionally, as we come in, using AI as a tool. So we talked a little bit about systemization. We talked a little bit about automation. I think it's also really important for us to look at how do we continue to supplement things on the team. So I know in the past few weeks I've been talking about some of these different tools or different things we've been thinking about. But one of the things that specifically with this sales role has been, how do we continue to help level up the skill set as quickly as possible to get as many reps as possible when it comes to sales types of conversations, to how do I just refine and get better and get better and get better? So one of the things that we launched in the last week or so has been the team ChatGPT account, so that we can start to create things for the team that we can deploy, they can use, different things like that. So that's a combination of project folders that are specific for each department. It's a combination of custom GPTs. How do we start kind of augmenting things that are in my brain or in the team's brain and pull it together so that anybody on the team can use it at any time? So I've got a quick little portion that I recorded on this earlier this week that I wanted to share with you again in this update today, that walks you through exactly what we've done with creating a role play buddy, a custom GPT for sales role play. I show you the behind the scenes. I show you the instruction set, all of that type of stuff. So I'm going to play that for you right now. Okay, so one of the biggest things when it came to hiring and training our team is sometimes as managers or leaders or owners of the business, we run out of time to do different things to level up skills. So in the last couple of weeks, I talked a little bit about using different AI tools, things like that. We've been working on the team ChatGPT account, and I created this custom GPT to be a sales role play buddy. So as a team member, if I'm in the sales role, I can come in and I can do as many role plays as I want to every single day and level up my skills as quickly as possible. So I thought it'd be really fun to kind of show you guys the behind the scenes of what that looks like. I'm going to show you the instructions. I'm going to show you why I set some of this stuff up. And I did some refining this last week, and I got to be honest, it completely blew me away when I started to test this thing out. My team is sitting here going, "This is awesome! I can't believe we have this." All that kind of stuff just shows you what's possible as you think about how do I start systemizing, doing different things in my own business. So take what you can from this. I thought it'd be kind of fun to just share this all with you today. So here I've got the ChatGPT account kind of pulled up for the team. You can see over here on the side, there's a couple different custom GPTs that I have created. And then we have project folders for each of the departments. So that's kind of another cool thing that we built is each department has its own project folder that has its own master prompt, instructions, SOPs, different things like that. So whenever a team member on the marketing department, as an example, needs to come in and ask questions or do different things, there's a folder for marketing, which I believe is under this Seymour. Yep, there it is. So you can kind of see that and go through that, which is kind of cool. But today I wanted to talk about this sales role play buddy. So I've got this pulled up, and how this works is there's a couple different, conversation starters is what this is. So I can come and say, hey, I want to do one of these 4 types of kind of sales meetings within the team and take me through that process. So rather than having to prompt it specifically, there's already the conversation starters that are going to move us in the right direction of what we want to do. So that's kind of the front end. Now, if I go into the edit GPT here, I'm going to show you kind of what the back end of this looks like. So over here, you've got kind of all of the configuration, all of the setup. So you can name it, you can give it a little bit of a description, but the instruction set, the conversation starters, and then the information of the documents that you provide with it, that's going to be the key to get it to do the things that you want it to do. So for this particular one, I'll take you through the instructions here in a second, but for its knowledge, I gave it call outlines, scripts, different processes and procedures that we have kind of in the training when a team member is learning these different things and being able to tap into it right here. Like this is how you give it the knowledge that it needs. I added in those conversation starters. So that's where kind of these boxes that I was mentioning before, they come in from these conversation starters saying, hey, I want to do a discovery call, or I want to do a site visit or a diagnostic, and I want it to be focused on these types of things. So you can add different conversation starters to make that prompting even easier so that the team member doesn't have to come in and think, what should I prompt this thing to get the best result? It just is there for them. The instructions. So here's the big piece, and I'm going to see if I can do full screen here. You'll see there are a ton of instructions within this thing. And I think it's important to go through what are the sections of this. So as you think about creating the instruction set for a custom GPT of your own, what types of things should I be thinking through? And my encouragement is don't try to do this alone. Like plug this into ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or wherever you want to kind of build out your instruction set. Go in and ask it to help you write these. I didn't write these by hand. I had the tool help me write them, and I refined it with it over time. So talk a little bit about what it is, the purpose of it, the different modes that I want. And this was kind of important. I wanted it to have a setup mode, a role play mode, and then a coach mode. Essentially,
when somebody comes in and uses this, I want it to have a setup. So it's going to ask some questions. They're going to make sure that the everything is set up properly before jumping into the actual role play. And then it will go into character, and it'll be the role play in role play mode. So now it's acting as the person that you're talking to. And then when you say like end call or let's wrap it up there, then it will bump over into coach mode, and it will give different insights on how you did. It will grade you in different areas, which is kind of cool. So the setup mode, so it goes through and kind of talks through what is setup. This is the first message. It's going to ask you which call do we want to do, which is what this is actually doing, because we have different calls that it can do, or different things like that. So it's going to have and go through and ask all of these questions, which I think is really important. If I'm going to come in and role play with a tool like this, I want the team to be able to say, I want to work on an easy example, or I want to work on something that's really hard. I want you to give me every objection in the world so I can just really work on that piece of it, and kind of set that stuff up. So there's all of that in the setup. Then you get into section 2, which is the call blueprints. And this is where, because we're doing multiple different types of sales calls within this, there's going to be a blueprint for each one of them. These correspond to the knowledge base, the PDFs that I plugged in as well. So it talks through kind of each of these different types of calls. What's the purpose of the calls? What's the expected outcome? Different things like that. So it gives this context so that when it goes through the end of it and says, hey, you did really well here, you didn't do well in these other areas, it's able to look back and say, what was the purpose of the call? What was the things that should have happened based on all this information that we have? And now it can effectively grade you on each one of these. And then, of course, you can do custom call in here as well. Section 3 then is the role play mode. Like, how do you respond? How do you go through this? And you tell it, when in role play mode, I want you to do this. Follow these general rules. Talk about these types of things when it comes to warmth controls. If I say it's cold, I want you to act very skeptical, very time sensitive. Or if it's very hot, like I want them to be enthusiastic and excited. Like, we define these things so it knows how to interact with you. Difficulty controls, advancement rules, things like that, like what to do as it moves forward. So this is the, like, in role play mode, this is what I want you to do and be. Section 4 is the objection engine. So this is where you can set, the call to easy, medium, hard, brutal. It gives you some examples of different types of objections so that the tool is trained on the types of things to throw back at you as the team member. Section 5 then is the coaching mode. So this is, we went through the setup, we went through the role play side, but once we get to the coaching side of it, like, what do I want that to be? If I'm sitting in the seat and I'm a salesperson, what do I want to be coached through? What do I want to be reviewed on? So we have to define that. We have to explain that out to this tool so it knows how to respond. And it gives, I gave it a coaching format. I want it to look this way. I want the responses to be this way. I want you to take me through these particular areas and grade on these specific things. Now, we may find that as we do more and more and more of these, some of this coaching format may need to change. We may see different things we want to do, but you got to give it the instructions is kind of the key point. Section 6 is on style and conduct. So what's the tone? What's the tone of the coach? And then some things you just don't want it to do, and then give it some boundaries. So section 7 is all about boundaries. Do this and don't do this. And I think that's really important to give those guardrails to ensure that this flows in the way that you would expect it to flow, as if I'm sitting down with a team member and doing a live role play. So this is kind of the back end setup. If you're going to set something up like this, these are kind of the areas that I'd recommend. Use ChatGPT or whatever your favorite large language model chat tool is, and just type in, hey, I'm looking at building this type of thing. Here's the basic parameters that I would like to build this off of, and maybe just use kind of these was it seven different categories, and just say, hey, I want in these categories, this is how I want to build the instruction set, and then ask me questions on how to set this stuff up, and then just go through it until it builds the entire thing for you. And then you go into your custom GPT, you add in the instructions, you'll hit save, you'll have that all there, build this stuff up, and then you just hit update or create, I think, if it's the first time that you're doing it. And then all of a sudden, you've got your custom GPT built, and your team can use it. So what's really cool, if I go to the view GPT here, you can do a couple things. So you can just text prompt it, which isn't bad. Like, you can go back and forth. We're in an environment where we just need to practice a few things. We can text prompt it. That's fine. You can do a quasi voice type thing where you're going to dictate to it and then have it give you text outlay where you could have it then speak back to you. Or my favorite tool is actually use the voice mode. Click into this and say, I'm ready to do a sales role play. It's going to ask you those questions live. Like it's literally going to act like somebody that you're having a conversation with, and then it feels like a true role play. It's been really, really, really cool to see. I wanted to show a little bit of the background because I don't know, it's really fun to build these things and talk about them with y'all. But I want to show some of this too. So hopefully this has been helpful, and you can take something from it. I know that we're going to continue to build these things in our business because it makes our life way easier when it comes to what can we replicate every single time someone comes on the team. How do we give them the tools that they can be successful? And how do I do it in a way that protects our time so we can continue to build the things within the business that we need?
So finally, as I wrap up today's update, it is Friday. It's usually Friday or Saturday when I sit down to record these things. And looking back in hindsight, the week has been more progressive. We've moved further forward than I think I sometimes give us credit for. Obviously, you see some of the things that I've shared in the video so far today. But if you're watching this later on and it's the end of the week for you, take a minute and just look back at the calendar. Like literally right now, I have my calendar pulled up here and I'm taking a look at it and I'm remembering the things that happened on Monday, on Tuesday, and looking at some of the things that we got accomplished and the conversations I've had with the team members and realizing that each little piece is a step forward. It's important to recognize these types of things. So while it may not always be this huge, amazing standout week that, man, we accomplished this and we did this and we did this, sometimes it's just the little things that stack up over time, right? It's those 1% improvements every single day that gets us to where we want to go. So with that, looking at it, the systemization continues to be built out. The team training continues to be built out. We're seeing the live effects of that in real time. We are seeing the additional AI tools, the workflow automations, things like that we can plug into different areas, and then looking at how do you duplicate these things for different additional roles. That has really been what this week has been. At time of recording, it is November 21st. So next week will be Thanksgiving. Likely I'll have an update for you next week as well, with a few things focused on next week as we prepare heading into December. So what will be really fun over the coming weeks, I will start to be putting together all of the map and the plan and everything for 2026. Annual planning for us internally, for me and my role, for me and my just overall personal life and whatnot. So some of that will be probably peppered in over the next couple of videos to give you a context of how I think about annual planning, different things we're thinking about. Probably share some crazy goals that we have. Because I don't know, if I share these goals with you, the likelihood of me achieving them hopefully is higher because we have this crazy thing called accountability. So I will try to share as much as I can as we go through the process. But as always, thank you for sticking with us and joining us along this crazy journey of trying to retire my parents the next, what was 14 months. Now it's a little over 13 months. So stick with us and let's continue to build some amazing businesses together.